Alright, so I was telling you guys earlier, we're going to record this and put this on YouTube because we have two ladies joining us from Ohio. They're going to join up with us at JFK. And then my aunt, who's in Arkansas, she's going to fly out of Nashville with us. But she's in Arkansas right now, so they can at least watch this on YouTube. So if you ask any questions later, it will be on the internet forever and ever, amen. I want to start with the backpacks. These came in this week. By the grace of God, they came in. Very much sweat and toil. We got them. But go ahead and get into these. I want us to go through some of the things that you're going to find in it. First and foremost, you'll see a turquoise fanny pack. It is styling and profiling. You can take that with you. I left mine at home already. This, once you get your luggage together and all packed up and weighed out, we'll talk about that later, put this around it, put your name in here, but put this around your luggage. That way when we're pulling it off the carousel in Israel, it's easy to tell which group members' luggage we just need to pull off. So make sure that you're using this. You'll also notice you have this handy dandy jewelry pouch, not with jewelry. But eye coverings, I've already taken mine out because we played with that at our house. A neck pillow, and I will tell you, you're going to want this. And earplugs, I've even got these on the packing list. If you're not listening to a movie and you're just flying, this will get rid of that dull drone of the airplane and helps out tremendously. I usually take a Ziploc bag full of earplugs because it's super handy on the plane. All right. A little bummed they didn't have the footy socks, but hey, I guess it's not a hospital. You have a book about Israel. This was a nice gift that they gave everyone. You have the power converter.
We have one or two of these.
There should be one. Are there two in there?
None.
We've only got one, Christie.
Oh, okay, one for both.
Okay.
Okay.
Here's your power converter. It says release. This is for the different countries in which you may need the converter, okay? Put it together, and then you can plug your standard US plug directly into this, okay? Do they all look the same? Maybe. Alright. It also has a USB port so you can charge a phone or something on the bottom. Alright.
Is this designed for Israel?
Yes, I hope so, since the Israel folks gave it to us. If you chance it and use something different, I'll let you know that you've got to make sure that the right power is converted. I nearly burned up a bed in North Africa once in Nigeria because I had plugged a little TV into one of these, and it was butted up to the bed, and it started smoking, and the sheets started smoking, and I was able to put it out before I went to sleep. But I learned quickly, make sure you have the right converter if you're going to use American appliance. All right?
You think this will work with a CPAP machine?
It should. That should not be a problem.
Here's a 110. Here's a 110.
Yeah.
Because that hair dryers might be a little bit
Well, Steve's got a big one.
If for
It
some
should be a
reason
one
you
thing.
want to make sure, you can always call Jerusalem Tours and say, hey,
He's got that big one he bought for his big house in Africa.
okay.
Just think y'all can carry it just in case. But he can't sleep without that.
I would think so. You also have this in your backpack. Please, please, please read through this booklet. I think I've given you something like this before. Read it again. There's some crucial points in each of these sections. I do want to point out one of these. On page 3 at the very top, there's been some questions about water and how water is going to work over there. In the hotels that we stay at, it's going to be like an American hotel in that they have the little section where you can go get snacks or whatever, which means you'll have to buy your own water. On the bus, when we go out, they'll have water for sale for $1 a bottle. Okay? Now, I don't know if when we get there, if we can ask the guy to just go get some big bottles of water. I'll try to do that. But just know, if you want a bottle of water on the bus, it's $1, and they will take a US dollar for these, okay?
So we shouldn't drink their water over there?
You can.
You're
It
not.
probably is not gonna kill you if you do, but on such a short trip like this, I'm not gonna take a chance.
Okay.
Because if you're out 1 day, 2 days, there goes a quarter of your trip.
Okay.
You don't say bottles you have?
I have no idea.
If they wanna order lifestyle bottles, there's enough time to order them.
Okay. Yeah, you can get life straw bottles, but in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
you will suck your brains out through a life straw on some of them.
Well, I mean,
The
they're
bottles
the,
better? Okay.
yeah.
I know a life
they're the
straw,
life- They're, yeah, they're
you
the
get
life.
an aneurysm trying to get
Well, they're
something.
the totem though.
Okay.
They're the totem
Yeah,
though kind.
Steve's got one Brooke gave him that's like a water bottle.
Yes.
In here, it shows time differences and so forth. It also mentions in here that if you want to tip above what you've already paid up front, you can. Now, with that said, put this away and just know this is an absolute must read for you guys. Please don't forget to read that. Get this little thing out, okay? Just going to show you how sausage is made for a minute. My pack is different than yours because I'm the group leader. My very first piece in my pack was a big honking check that I have got to take over there because this is your tip money for all the drivers, hotels, everything else. Don't feel like you have to do anything above what you've already paid. You can if you want, but this is so that I can give each of them their tips at the end of the trip, okay? I'm telling you that because if you're thinking, man, we didn't tip the driver today. Yes, you did. I've got that covered, okay? It's all taken care of whenever you pay for the trip. Next you see on here is your e-ticket. Please don't lose this. Don't lose any of it. But don't lose this. As you see on here, the flight schedule, we're using Delta. So if you don't already have Delta Air Miles, get online or call Delta. They can give you a frequent flyer number, and we can put this in once we get to the ticket counter. You can give them your air miles number, and they'll put your air miles from this trip onto it. It's not a bad trip because it's a 10-hour flight one way. It's a lot of miles, so go ahead and get a Delta number, okay? So that's the e-ticket. Next I'm taking it next, it was next in mine. You will see the list of the hotels we're staying at and the phone numbers. You can get online. I have gotten online and I've looked at each of these hotels. Not bad hotels, okay? And it says that most of these hotels have places that we'll come back to at night and have our meals. You can even look at some of the cuisine online, okay? You also see here a phone number at each of these hotels. If for some reason there's an emergency stateside and cell phones are open, you can call these depending on the night, or your loved one can call the hotel and get in touch with us, okay? So that is one way to keep up with where we're going to be. Does it say what nights? Okay, so it's got the dates there too.
It's got the dates and everything.
Now, for those who did purchase travel insurance, not everybody did, you didn't have to. I have the list of those who purchased travel insurance. If for some reason we need it, I have that information. I'll be in touch with them to help take care of this issue, okay? For those who didn't get it, better luck next time.
We don't know if we got it or not. We didn't get it, did we? Oh, we got it or not? I don't think we did. No, I think we did.
All right. The next one that you see in here is Jerusalem Tours, other cruises and so forth that they offer. It is a travel agent for cruises, or if you want to go to Italy and Rome and Greece. Okay, this talks about what's in here. The next one is airline ticket regulations. Again, they encourage you to get travel insurance, which I think it cost you a fortune now. Disclaimer and responsibility: if for some reason Jesus returns and messes up your trip to Israel, sorry.
That'd be nice.
I told the Sunday night class, I have put in a personal request with Miss Sarah, who is the co-owner of this company. There's a fat tip if she could work Jesus into returning while we're there. Here is a free map for you of Israel, and then Jerusalem and the Sea of Galilee. Okay, moving on back in your little pack, you see a name tag. They want us to wear these every day. Now, again, knowing that this could possibly be on YouTube, I'm just going to take a chance. We were supposed to have gotten hats this color. Praise Jesus, there were no hats in here. We may still end up getting them when we're in Israel, but I'm all for the name tag myself. I can do this. I'm going to request that take a marker and put your name on the back also, because undoubtedly when you get a name tag, it never stays this way. It always turns over. And if our tour guide, we're going to have a tour guide from Israel, if he wants to address us and this thing's on the back side, it'd be nice if he could still say our name. Okay? And I may change mine from Hubert to Bert. You do have more luggage tags in here, and a handy dandy, really cool flashlight.
Could I ask you, do you want us to use these tags so that we all have the same color, or you want to use what we have?
The big strap is going to help us more than anything.
So we don't have to.
This has to be on there.
Okay.
Now, if for some reason you're not going to take this bag and you're going to take a different, I would recommend using one of these. That way, if we're in the hotel lobby and we see a bag sitting over there with one of these on it, or if we see this bag, we'll know it's from somebody in our group.
Okay.
All right, so any questions so far about what was in here?
I think I asked them all. I'd rather know your-
Oh, this is in here. Yes, either use this one or use one like it at all times. You've got to keep your passport on you at all times. The only time you can take it off is when you shower, okay? Because if you lose the passport, it is really hard to get home.
They need to make a copy of it and put a copy in the back.
Yes.
You know,
Keep your
hold on.
little pack like this with you at all times. Just slip it under. I'm gonna recommend that you also keep your money in here so that you can put it under your shirt, because when you travel international, we look like tourists. And guess what tourists carry with us when we go overseas? You don't have to carry a camera to look like a tourist. When you look like this, they know you're not from here. And so pickpocketing is a big issue overseas. Please make sure that you keep this secure. I don't know, they're not waterproof because these are the same kind that the kids had at camp. And man, you would not believe the ways a kid can destroy one of these.
Well, I was thinking if we went and jumped in the Jordan River or something.
All right.
Well, I'm thinking.
Now, there's a couple of things that I want to just cover with you, so you might want to just jot a few notes. Dealing with our travel itself. On that Tuesday, our plane leaves at 2:05? Is that what it said, 2:05?
Probably worked that morning.
Which means we need, they're recommending 3 hours at the airport. That is such a long time. I could understand if we were flying out of O'Hare or JFK or Atlanta. We're flying out of Nashville, which is a little easier to get through. So I'm going to recommend that we leave Hohenwald by 10. Which means we need to be up here at the church by 9:30 so that we can get luggage on the bus. 9:30 is fine. We'll leave before 10, just get people on the bus.
Oh, it's gonna be a late night.
We're gonna take a church bus and somebody's gonna have a van to carry luggage. So we're all going to go up there together. Please, please, please make sure that you have very handy your passport and your e-ticket so that when we get there, we can get straight in the ticket line.
Do we
Okay?
need to take our driver's license as another form of
It
ID?
would not hurt to have it. Typically, folks will use a passport to trump a driver's license, but it doesn't hurt to have two forms of identification. When we go out and about, we're going to use the buddy system, okay? It is so hard just to look quickly and say so-and-so's missing. I'm going to recommend that your roommate is your buddy. That way it's easier for us to say, oh, so-and-so, they had to leave. So, yeah,
How do we find out who we're rooming with?
you're with Tina.
Okay.
That was
There's your
really,
buddy's bag over there. So we're going to use the buddy system when we're over there. Luggage. If you'll look through the packet, it tells us one large piece of luggage and it cannot weigh over 50 pounds. If you need to weigh your luggage with a luggage scale, we have some here, but it can't be over 50 pounds
Per person or just?
per person.
my little CPAP's about yay big. Will I be able to carry a CPAP in a backpack?
I think so.
Carry on only, I'm
I
here.
think so.
That's one carry.
Yeah,
That's
I
one
do.
carry-on only
I
though.
do,
Put it in your backpack.
We got Steve's, we practiced packing the other night, and we got his
The,
CPAP in.
the only
in
reason I think you can do is because it's a medical device. I can check with you. Yes, sir.
Is there regulation on the size of the luggage?
There is, and it's in that handout. It's either, I think it's in that the booklet of paper that.
No, I didn't have a problem.
Also, something smart with the weight, if you're planning on bringing souvenirs back, pack about 5 or 10 pounds light. Because if you're adding to it, then you'll be over 50 and you'll have to take stuff going out getting home.
Yeah, that can be a challenge.
Or you can do like me, I'm bringing clothes and I'm gonna throw in the garbage and leave.
Or you
So I bring
can remove
something
your
for it.
roommate's clothes.
And throw those in the garbage.
She's gonna bring clothes from the That's a good idea, I didn't think about
I'm
that.
bringing stuff, I'm gonna just chunk it in the garbage.
When we return to the US, we're also gonna have somebody pick us up there so that we can come back together. That way you don't have to have 8 different people trying to get up there. And we'll return back home December 7th at 10:15 in the morning.
December 7th,
December 7th.
We'll be back in Nashville.
We'll be in Nashville at 10:15 a.m.
So we should be back here,
just after lunch,
okay.
assuming you didn't get luggage lost. Yes, sir. All right, I want to cover medicines real quick. Actually, I'm going to have Mark come up here and talk about some medicines to take on this trip. What do you have for us?
So I took, when I went, a few different things. I took Flagyl for traveler diarrhea, just in case. Thankfully, I didn't need that, but you just never know, especially if you're going to chance it by drinking their water. You might want some Flagyl. Another one that really might be a good thing to do, this is prescription also, is Levsin. It's not very expensive. It's called Levsin. And Levsin is a medicine for stomach cramps and things like that. So if you're having any issues with that, it really helps a lot. Levsin, Levsin.
And then how you spell
Generic is how
Flagyl?
I mean. No,
How you spell the Flagyl?
Flagyl.
F-L-A-G-Y. And we just ask the doctor for
So,
that
those are prescription, and they're not, neither one of those are very expensive. But it's, if you had a few of those, and I don't know that everybody needs it, I don't know that everybody needs it, but if you had a few, I think it would be good. And then another thing is, you never know when you're traveling, just different diet. And by the way, I was kind of nervous about the food, and you'll be fine, I promise you. The hotels, it's a smorgasbord of food. You'll never see it. I don't know if you're doing breakfast before you leave for the day. Incredible. I mean, just so much food. If it's any, and most of the hotels are the same over there as far as how much food they do. I would take some, probably, or at least some of you take some Miralax just in case, because if Miralax is for constipation, and again, I just find that bowels change when you're overseas and you're eating different food, so you just want to be prepared. The other thing that I took was Zofran, and that's the tablet that dissolves under the tongue. It's good for nausea and vomiting. Zofran is also a prescription, not real expensive. You can get, I know at like CVS in Lawrenceburg, I think you can get like 15 of them for like $10 or $15. So they're not, it's not all that expensive, I don't think. But if you had just a few of those, that would be good, I think, too. Of course, things like Benadryl, ibuprofen, obviously, would be something else that you'd want to have. And obviously, if you have any kind of medical issues, don't leave your medicines at home.
I know when we went to Zambia, they had certain prohibitions against certain drugs you can take in. Does Israel let you know?
That we didn't have any problem getting anything in. Whenever we went, you were asking about different things earlier, we had no problems getting anything in or out. I know that we ran into a thing where somebody had to get some stuff while we were over there, and it was really expensive. It wasn't easy to do. We had to actually, we visited one of their ERs while we were there, that was fun. It was not one you wanna visit, if you can take your own medicine, that'd be preferable.
Do you need to carry your medicines in the pill bottles?
Yes,
And
so
not
you
in
would
like
want,
I've
if
got like
you,
a pill box that I keep.
you would want it in whatever with your name on it labeled, especially if it's a prescription type of medicine, you want that labeled with your name on it. I would also say too, just while we're talking and while I'm up here, I took a little personal first aid kit type thing that I got at just like REI that has enough for kind of one day. It's not real big, so I kept it in my backpack through the day, but it had anything you need. It had a little ibuprofen, it had, you know, Band-Aids, it had Neosporin, it had some things for a wound, it had a glue for a wound, just different things. Something like that wouldn't be a bad idea, because if you're out and you're walking and then all of a sudden you have an issue on your foot or something, I mean, that came in handy for sure. So as far as medicines, I mean, those are the main things that I took. Any questions about the medicine, Don?
Moleskin?
Yes, I took Moleskin.
What's that?
Again, it's just, I took Moleskin for like if you're having any issues with blisters and that sort of thing. Moleskin, but also too, I took the liquid bandage, and
Like
actually
new skin.
somebody, yeah, exactly, like new skin. Somebody actually needed that while we were there, that I let them borrow it. It's at Walmart, real cheap.
Over the counter?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
it's a new skin, and so yeah, it's a liquid. It's called liquid bandage, but it's good if you had something. The problem is when we're walking, Band-Aids, you know, if you're getting wet or if you're you know, sweating on your feet, the Band-Aids could be coming off. That new skin's kind of nice because it doesn't. So that's kind of, as far as I can think of, medicine-wise, that's kind of the main things on that. You know, I know you had this on there too. One other thing while I'm here, I took Gatorade packets and things like that too. Just now, again, you're going at a different time. When I went to, we were doing lots of hiking. We hiked 6 mountains while I was there, and so you know we had to have plenty of electrolytes. I took all kinds of snacks and electrolytes. I took Gatorade packets. They get the electrolyte tablets. They make all kinds of stuff. And just being out and moving. You don't want to start getting lightheaded and not have any electrolytes. We had one kid, and he was a healthy 18-year-old, and day number 2, we're going out and we're hiking in this wadi in the Negev Desert where Abraham would have hiked and that sort of thing, and we're out probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles, and this 18-year-old whose health, I mean, never had any problems, he starts getting lightheaded. Well, we found out this kid had been feeling like that since he woke up, and he had drank 2 liters of water that morning. 8. I mean, I do my best to drink 1 a day while I was there, and that's hiking and sweating. He drank 8 in the morning time, but he did no electrolytes, and that's when we found out with the ER from like over there. So anyway, I tell you that just because if you start feeling kind of lightheaded, don't just drink water. You want some electrolytes with it. Just because you want to replace that. Again, I know you're not doing maybe tons of hiking stuff, but you're in a different environment, you got different stuff going on, just make sure you have some electrolytes just in case. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I never leave home without. I used to use these Gatorade packets. You can't find these in Hohenwald or Columbia or any place around here anymore. I don't know why. But I have since gone to these and just put one of these in a bottle of water. It doesn't have as strong a flavor as Gatorade does. It's also a little healthier for you than all the sugar that's in a Gatorade. As a matter of fact, these are sugar-free. And you can just easily put a couple of these in your backpack. And if you've got a bottle of water on the bus, I got these on Amazon because that's where I do all my shopping. I don't have to stand in a line. These are Dr. Price's electrolyte mix.
Something similar at Walmart.
So you can come look at these later if you want. A packing list. There's a lot of stuff that's already in their recommended packing list. I just want to cover a few. One of them is a walking stick. If for some reason you would like to take a walking stick, this is one that expands. You can get these at Walmart. And it fits in your carry-on luggage. Earplugs, I've already mentioned the earplugs. Ziploc bags, as Mark said, you'll be able to get different rocks and stuff from different places. And a Sharpie, because once you get back to the U.S., all rocks look the same. You'd kind of like to know where you got the rock from. Sunglasses, multiple pair, you said, because obviously somebody's going to break some. Comfortable shoes, hiking socks. You want to tell them about the hiking socks that you had?
Yeah, he recommended us get some, like, they're called liner socks that are made for really hiking and getting wet, because if you don't, the problem is your shoes can kind of move around and you can get blisters. And so he recommended we get some hiking socks. I can't remember how much they were. They weren't horribly expensive. I had like 2 or 3 pair that I took, and I bought mine like, I think I bought a couple pairs of REI, and then you picked one up in Columbia, I think, or somewhere.
Yeah, the camping store that has the sign that's upside down.
Ted's.
Yes,
Ted's.
I got some there.
And they're.
I just happened to be in Ted's and saw them. That's the only reason I got it
What are
at
they
Ted's.
called, Mark?
So I took their liner socks. They're just, if you look for hiking socks, like I went to REI, I said, I'm going to Israel, and what do I need? And they said, oh, you definitely need, and they had some hiking socks along with the liner socks. I bought both just because I knew I was going to be doing a lot of hiking. I didn't want there to be any issues with my feet. And I mean, thankfully I hiked for 2 weeks and it's all, by the way, it's all rocks. You'll find that out. And I mean, I did fine, but it was because I had the right stuff. So.
And I recommend the socks only if you really struggle with sweating in your feet or have feet issues. I wore regular socks when we were there. Keep in mind, he hiked, we're gonna bust. Big difference. But if you have feet problems or you're susceptible to blisters, that's why we put this in here. Also, we were talking the other day, knee braces, ankle braces. If you have some of those, you may want to bring them, and it may not be you that uses it. Maybe somebody else on the trip twists an ankle or tweaks a wrist, and if you've got one, it would just help somebody else out.
You said hiking shoes versus hiking boots. What is it?
I wore tennis shoes. I was in college when I went. Of course, it's the difference in a college kid and me now too. I will make this recommendation for the airplane, and that is compression socks. If you've never had compression socks, I recommend it because it is over 10 hours on the flight from from New York to Tel Aviv, and you don't want to get blood clots. If you're on any kind of medicines that could clot your blood, you can get these at Walmart too, and they are super hard to put on, but man, once you're in them, you don't want to get out of them. They're really nice for flying.
Do you know the last flight we did, the transatlantic, the airline gave us, do you know if Delta does?
They didn't give us compression socks.
Okay, they did on our last flight we did Zambia.
Really?
But I thought you said they only went to.
So that was United.
They only went to the ankle, the one stayed on the
Okay.
Yeah.
These I'm talking about go up to your knees. Actually, they go over my knee. Yes, if they go over my knee, you can pull them up to your thigh. Handkerchiefs, gonna recommend that. Snack foods, if you like your favorite snack, please. We learned this with Randy in Vietnam. Yes, that's on YouTube also. Vietnam does not sell Dr. Pepper. Randy has to have a Dr. Pepper every day. If you've got something that you need to have every day, take it with you. You want to talk about what you use for snacks?
Sure. I mean, I took. That's one thing he told us too. He said now, I took Cliff Bars, which were great because they really lasted a while. But he said, what he told us, he said, listen, one of the best things I found over the years is, if you like paydays, he said paydays. He said it's got your protein in it, it's got some good sugar in it, but he said it doesn't melt. And so I took a ton of that. Now, here's the other thing. Like I said, we were talking about going over 50 pounds, coming back, you don't want as much. I took probably 10 pounds of food, and I left probably 9 pounds in my last hotel room because I didn't need as much as I took. Because when you have a breakfast, as big as a breakfast you're going to have, you're probably not going to want tons. But it's fine. I would rather have more than I need, and that I did. I had enough for a snack every morning, every afternoon, just in case. Because if you go out to eat, if y'all have lunch and you have falafel and you can't stand falafel, then you may want to snack that afternoon. So
What is that?
Don't sound good,
It
does
don't sound good.
Robin loves them.
They're not bad.
you'll find out.
I'll find out. He's
They're not,
It's a chickpea
It
hush
is
puppy.
chickpea.
Yes.
they're not bad.
Robin loves them.
Chickpeas, I've had chickpeas.
Chickpea hush puppy.
Wasn't bad.
But we've heard it here, this is a sanctified excuse to eat paydays. So,
Amen, brother.
take a journal. You're going to want to write some of this down. Extra tip money if you wanted, so the walking stick. Earbuds for the plane. That's not earplugs, it's earbuds for music. They will give you headphones, but when the airline gives you headphones, they are super cheap. They never work right. They're inexpensive at Walmart. Just go get you some little earbuds because you're going to want to watch a movie or listen to music on the plane for 10 hours. No matter how spiritual you are and think that you're going to read your Bible and journal for 10 hours, it's not going to happen. Don't forget your Bible.
I can't bring mine, I'm gonna have to get a new one, mine weighs about 25 pounds.
You know, that's the last place you want to be without your Bible.
Bring another one.
And batteries. If you need batteries for any of your things that you're taking, again, if you have to buy them over there, they know you're a tourist.
They probably don't have Bibles in the hotels like we do here, do they?
I wouldn't bank on it.
I think your batteries will be in your check bag too.
Yes.
They're gonna be in your check bag.
I will say this about batteries. If you're going to have them in your check bag, don't, and if you put them,
Package.
don't put them in the bottom of your luggage.
What, battery?
Batteries. I'll tell you this from experience. I was in Africa, forget what country it was, but I carried a big backpack and I had a sleeve of new batteries with me. Do you know what a sleeve of batteries looks like when it's in the bottom of an X-ray?
Ammo.
It looks like a clip. And they made me unpack that whole thing just to get down to those batteries in the bottom. So keep your batteries up closer to the top. All right, the next part is customs. I'm going to let Mark touch on the first one.
Oh,
And the last one.
the first and last. Okay. A couple things that we found out while we were there. One is we had a lesson, and this actually wasn't even like the first day, but RVL said, listen, he said, you understand when you wear a cross, he said, you understand what you're saying to them. It's not what you think you're saying. He said, we think, oh, we come here and it's a way to witness. He said, a cross is very, very offensive to them because of the Crusaders that came in and all the devastation they did to the Jewish people. He said, if I'm going to wear something that I want to bridge a conversation, he said, I wear a palm tree, or an olive branch. I mean, he said, I do not wear a cross. And he didn't say we couldn't, and I'm not saying don't. I'm just telling you, if you go with a backpack full of crosses thinking that you're doing a great job witnessing to the Jewish people while you're there, it's not saying what you're thinking it's saying, okay? And then the other thing that, because it's, a lot of places are primarily Muslim. When we got to Jerusalem especially, he told us, he said, now, and we had some couples in there, he said, now, this is a place you don't want to do a lot of touching, hand-holding, things like that because of their customs. So I just wanted you to be aware of that when you get to places like Jerusalem, that there's so many Muslims and things. That's something they discouraged for our team, just so you know. One other thing on the packing list that I just wanted to touch on, I don't know if any of you are taking laptops, but I want you to know, what airline are you coming back with? Are you doing Turkish? Or do you know? Did it say? Anyway, the airlines coming back, you gotta be careful, because we couldn't actually take our laptops with us. We either had to check them, or they had to put them on the very front of the plane. You cannot, that's
Well, they
something
had on
new.
the news about
That
3
it's
days
changed.
ago that some airlines are not going to even let you check them.
Not really.
anymore
See,
because
that's,
of
we
them
had some
blowing
trouble,
up.
we had some trouble with that.
They said they're not even gonna let you bring one. If you have one, you have to throw it away. You
And it
won't
wasn't
have
even that, it was all electronic stuff. One of the guys had a nice camera that he took, and they made him do some, hack it and that sort of thing. And he's like a photographer, I mean, it's a really nice camera. And that was the first thing he was checking when we got back in. He's okay, he's fine, but, and then, I'm sorry?
What about GoPro?
I don't think you'll have a lot of issues with that, honestly. I don't think you'll have, that's a great thing to take.
iPads would be
See, iPads were one that most airlines, they do those a little differently than true computers. So we didn't have any problems with the iPads. We had problems if it was a full-blown laptop. And then it is, by the way, it is 220 electricity. The electricity there is 220. So if you do have hair dryers, that sort of thing, if you plug it in, you don't have an actual converter, it could mess up something like that. So you do have to be careful. That was something that you do have to be careful of there. So anyway, turn it back over.
Also with the customs, I'm gonna ask us not to display American arrogance. And unless you've traveled overseas, you don't understand why the rest of the world hates us the way we do. There are times when Americans can portray ourselves very poorly. For one, we're super loud. We're just not quiet people. We're not quiet when we are in a group. And I've been with groups that it's embarrassing because every head in the place is looking at the group. I've been to some places coming back from Trinidad visiting my in-laws. Went in an airport, and those folks can't help the fact that they don't have air conditioning. They're not a wealthy country. And people around us were just slamming their facilities and just making a real jerk of themselves. I'm thinking, no wonder people hate us. Remember that we're the guest. That's their home. We want people to behave themselves when they come to our home. We're the guests there. I don't think there's going to be a problem with this group. I usually have to give this speech a lot sterner if there's youth going on it. But just behave yourself.
How about, do we need to act friendly to them, speak to them, like we do around here, or just acknowledge them by looking at them, or do we speak to them, to the people in the airports? I mean,
Feel
do we-
free to say y'all. Because if you don't say y'all, you won't say anything.
Yeah, now one thing I would say too, the guide, I don't know, I'm guessing, I don't know if this guide is actually Jewish or Christian or what. We had actually, the people with us, they're Jewish. I mean, in every group that you went with, they're Jewish. But one thing that the guide asked our leader before we left, he looked at him, he said, where do you find all these people? He said, every group you bring, they're so polite, they're so well-mannered, they want to know how we're doing, they're talking to, I will tell you, for your tour guide, be extra friendly to them. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference, and we saw that firsthand. So, as far as the airport, I mean, what I found too, like even over there, it was kind of like our airport employees here. They're not exactly excited about their life's profession a lot of times, and they're not easy to strike up a conversation with. It doesn't mean you can't try, but I'll tell you, especially though, the ones you're with for the whole 10 days, the ones that you're going around the bus with, I mean, you are the window of Jesus to them. I don't know if they're going to be Jewish or Christian or what, because many of them over there are Jewish. I mean, when we were in the airport, or we were in the hotel, we saw other groups going out and things, and yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys, I mean, that's what Yehuda, our guide, he's not the one that really did anything with us, except for got things together for us, but that's what he does for a living, is he gets groups like this, and he goes, and that sort of thing, so.
Just to hear, because I want you to give a
Sure.
story, but
Yeah.
there may be times where you really don't like what we're doing or some of the accommodations, And again, as an American, we'll either fix it ourselves or we'll just complain until somebody does. Tell them about was it the chips?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, so one day at lunch, we kind of ate lunch on location, kind of between places where we were going. And so we usually had like, one day we had falafel, but most days they had different sandwich meats and chips and things like that. Well, one day, the chips were not with the sandwich meat. And the guide got extremely distressed because that is their custom, is they're here to take care of you. And it killed him that the chips weren't there. And we're not sure what happened to him. We don't know if one of the youth carried it off to their table. But we got a lecture that you've got to be careful about their customs because in their culture, that's a disgrace if you're the guest and they're not feeding you, they don't have enough food for you. That's a disgrace to them, and it made them feel so bad. And us, it's not that big of a deal to, but them. So be careful about just even their culture. Just be mindful that the playing feels a little different over there, and there are different things that make them feel really bad, and feel very uncomfortable. So.
Could I ask you, think you could carry a little lightweight plastic thing?
With
you?
you?
Can you think?
I mean, like a battery-powered type deal or
No,
something?
like when you
or?
plug in a little fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean,
There won't be any problem.
if I check it in?
You put it in your check luggage.
Yeah,
I've
that
taken
would-
fans all over
Okay,
the world.
okay,
Yeah, that
that's
wouldn't be
all
a
I need to
problem
know.
at
I can't sleep without thinking.
A couple of things preparation-wise. Feel free to go back to our First Baptist Church website and on YouTube. Sorry, go to YouTube and then type in First Baptist Church Hohenwald. It will bring up the Sunday night lessons that have been covered regarding the locations that we're going. Also preparations, just walk. Get out and walk. Gabby, I'm sure you're gonna have to get with it now. So start walking. Look at the weather for Israel, especially the closer we get on weather.com. Type in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or wherever we're going to be and see what the weather's going to be like. They do have some of that in the packet that they've given you, but you can see specifically what the weather's going to be while we're there. And the other thing I just want to remind you of, preparation-wise, is let your credit card company know that you're going out of country. Because if you don't, and you use it over there, they'll shut you down. Just let them know that you plan on being in JFK. That way they know not to shut it down if they're seeing charges come out of there too.
Cell phone providers.
Yeah, depending on your cell phone provider, some of them have international rates. For ours, what I typically do is, since we're going to be leaving in November, I will have our company turn on the international plan, and then I'll cancel it in December. And you can even tell them what days you're planning on traveling, and they can turn it on for just those days, and they'll prorate how much you used of it. I hardly ever call home. As a matter of fact, my wife knows that if I call home, something's wrong. Now, there are places that has Wi-Fi, and I'll be able to FaceTime or whatever with her. But the only time I communicate like that is when it's free, because if you're calling back home, even with an international plan, it could be 45 cents a minute or whatever.
Check with your provider and see if they have a plan for texting. Because when I went over to Zambia this last time, it cost me nothing. And Deb and I exchanged hundreds and hundreds of text messages and it didn't cost me anything. So check and see what your provider does.
Israel does have a plan that you can get, because tourists come there all the time. I didn't know about it until I got over there. And of course, some of the youth, their parents bought it for them. And it was a plan that you can sign up for 7 days or 14 days or whatever, and you can either get full service while you're there, or you can get, and it was, I mean, I looked it up, it was maybe like $40 or something like that, and it was, I mean, some of them had unlimited text, unlimited phone calls. Now, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go do that. I just wanted you to know, if you're interested in what all they have, because there's so many tourists to Jerusalem, they have actually things there. RBL comes out the first day, we're in the middle of the desert, and he comes out with a flip phone, and it's working and stuff, and he had the Israel plan, and he had told all the youth that they were welcome to get it if they wanted to. He just told them they couldn't use it during his lessons. But anyway, they do have things like that if you're interested, but I'm not sure it's worth it. So.
The only reason I really get the international plan is because I've been in crisis situations where planes had to change, and I was rerouted to even different countries than I was supposed to go to. And I needed to call back home to the travel agent and tell them, hey, let's rearrange things. So that's why I get the travel plan. It's more for emergencies than it is talking to folks back home.
Viber too.
Okay, yeah, Viber's an app that you can use on either Apple products or Android. Yes, sir.
Are we gonna be engaging in water features like the Dead Sea with Jordan River?
You'll have the opportunity to. And you have to use a swimsuit if you're going to be in there.
That's what I'm doing.
Yes, don't show them your American pride and skinny dip. No skinny dipping.
Especially the Dead Sea.
If you skinny dip, you're
Especially
on
the Dead
your
Sea,
own.
you don't go under.
Oh,
Be awkward.
I think that's it.
Well, then the
So if
Dead
you wanna
Sea
cut
warm,
the-
it's warm.
Yeah,
Is the Dead Sea warm? I mean, the
They heat it.
temperature's a lot warmer there.
It is hot at the